Hello, everyone. Good evening. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome you all on behalf of Team Avatar and my Avatar to the Diversity Mahotsav 2023. I'm Jayashree Jayaraman and I'm your host for this evening. As we start, here are a few hygiene checks for a seamless virtual experience. Please close all other applications on your computer and log out from your organization VPN to conserve internet bandwidth. We would like to thank our partners powered by partner Kellogg Brown and Root Engineering and Construction India Private Limited, supporting partners Genesis and EPAM Systems India Private Limited, and our outreach partner MCCI, Madras Chamber of Commerce and Industries. Our social media hashtags are hashtag Diversity Mahotsav, hashtag Celebrating Diversity. Do post your experience at Diversity Mahotsav on your SM handles with the hashtags. I would also like to inform you all that the Diversity Mahotsav episodes are being live streamed on our YouTube channel. You can watch the Diversity Mahotsav live on YouTube. Click on the link that is pasted on the chat window. My dear esteemed guests, welcome to the day 13 of Diversity Mahotsav, where we celebrate not only diversity, equity, and inclusion, but also the very essence of what it means to celebrate human kaleidoscope. The Diversity Mahotsav marks our individualities, a recognition of our combined resilience. Let's embark on this extraordinary celebration where culture merge while facing challenges to unfold diversity. Diversity Mahotsav is a month-long festival of sharing, learning, celebrating the uniqueness of every individual. The celebration is hosted by myavatar.com, which is the brainchild of Dr. Soundarya Rajesh, founder president of Avatar Group. Dr. Soundarya Rajesh is among India's most prominent leaders in the space of women workforce participation. Avatar, the social enterprise founded by Dr. Soundarya, is India's only organization that provides both strategy and implementation solutions in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Her work in creating careers for women in Indian workplace is unparalleled, for which she is referred to as the career doctor. Not only is she among the earliest and most impactful voices to speak, write, and teach about gender inclusion, she has also helped hundreds of companies hire thousands of women professionals through Avatar work. She is a powerful speaker, author, and a very sought after DEI strategist. Now, India is home to fifth of the world's young population, and this creates a demographic dividend that will play a critical role in achieving the nation's ambitious target to become a US $5 trillion economy. The large youth population offers both a workforce as well as a market. These young minds need to be imparted quality education to drive a culture of innovation, entrepreneurship, diversity, equity, and inclusivity. The role, therefore, of an educational institution and the gurus in creating an equitable learning environment is of prime importance. We at Avatar Group have an esteemed set of panelists to deliberate on intentional inclusion, creating an actionable charter to practice and promote inclusion at education institutions. We will embark on a journey to understand the importance of intentional inclusion, which requires us to confidently challenge all forms of unacceptable and exclusionary behavior to treat everyone with fairness and respect. The panel for today includes Dr. Ranjana Mary Burgess, an Associate Dean at Xavier Institute of Management and Entrepreneurship, Kochi. She is also a board member of the Xavier Institute of Management and Entrepreneurship, Kochi Board of Governors. She has around 2 decades of diversified experience in the field of information technology, telecom, manufacturing, and sales with companies like Infosys and Idea Cellular Limited. She has been involved in training senior officials of Government of Kerala, managerial and non-managerial staff of various organizations across India. Next, we have Dr. Rupashri Baral, Professor, Department of Management Studies, Advisor. With 15 years of experience in teaching and research, she has a PhD from IIT Bombay. She has published more than 45 peer-reviewed research papers, reputed journals, and few books chapters, case studies, and she occasionally writes for magazines and newspapers. She has presented in more than 100 international and national conferences of repute. Next, Dr. V. Padmaja, with 25 plus years of experience and currently working as professor with Ramaya Institute of Management, Bangalore. She completed PhD in the area of training and development. She worked for about 12 years for both government and private organizations, and then her passion for training and teaching motivated her to shift her career towards academics and higher education. At Ramaya Institute of Management, apart from teaching, she is actively involved in training, research, and consulting. She currently heads the Center of Leadership at the Institute and regularly conducts training programs. And finally, Dr. Shabana Iqbal Feroz, a senior manager research at Avtar. She has a doctorate in the field of DEI, a passionate DEI enthusiast with an intention to create a world of equal opportunities. So now, without any further delay, let's move into the session and over to you, Shabana.
Thank you, JJ. Thank you for a lovely introduction. Thank you. Thank you to all the panelists for joining in today. So to start with, our world has had a lot of revolutionary movements, and because of which we've been, trying to evolve as better humans and also to create a better space to live in. But one pressing issue that has always been there and it still exists is inequality, right? And one of those powerful tools out there to actually address this is education. So education has always proved its way out. It makes a person employable, thereby gaining a status for him or her in the society, or equal status indeed. So, while we march towards that, and while we, talk about inclusion, the quality is something that also goes in hand, right? So, and inclusion in education has been that international buzzword that has been happening. And in our country also, we can see the NEP policies, that has a lot of, consensus, and that are like, moving or marching towards, having a diverse and inclusiveness in with respect to education. So we have a lot of vanilla definitions to inclusion that are out there. But then, there are two A's, according to me, is acceptability and accessibility. So access is something that is to everyone, and acceptability that it should be accessible to everyone. So I really feel these are very, very important. And also, the more we speak about it, the more we address it. So when a lot of new initiatives will come up, which will further help in bringing in, or it will help in as a catalyst to march way better towards achieving inclusion in education. So hence we are here with our lovely panel of three beautiful ladies here this evening from the educational backgrounds. Because education background, by education background, is because that is exactly where people are getting molded, right? So, the major part of lifetime has been spent at educational institutions, right from school to college to everywhere. So that is why we thought, no better persons to look out for than the panelists that we have here today. So to start with, what does inclusion mean to you as an educator? Can we have Dr. Ranjana to go first?
Um, okay, so first of all, thank you, Dr. Shabana, and thank you, Avtar Group, for inviting me for a very close to heart kind of a topic. I think, as Shabana rightly said, I think as educators, with my fellow esteemed panelists, I think we are making a future generation. We have all the responsibility to ensure that the future generation has their eyes and ears open about people who are probably differently abled, I would call, or people who have got their own minuses. Look out for people who can be brought into the higher spheres, etc. So for me, if you ask me what is inclusion, etc., I think it's a very close to heart thing for me, close to home, because for me, I would say that if I take some statistics, I was just looking at some of the statistics again because I have someone at home who is autistic. So, I know that I have struggled getting an admission for that person in a school because I mean, I'm starting from primary education, though all the panelists here are dealing with postgraduate students, but still I'm starting with primary education because education per se covers everything together. So I understood that, in India, I mean, we being in India, we tried level best to get her admission in a mainstream school, but then all the mainstream schools were little reluctant to take her into that particular school. And now there were certain pressures, etc., etc. And one of the schools said, okay, they will take her. But then the thing is, ultimately, what we understood is like she was not included in many of the activities for the sake of, giving her admission, and probably for the sake of some kind of a branding for the school, telling that we have a person like this, we are taking care of that particular school. We found that she was made as a brand element only. So then we decided, no, we don't want her to be a brand element. So now she is going to a special school, but she is doing every activity, whatever is possible with respect to, I mean, in similar mannerism, may not be in the same pace, etc. So for me, if you ask me, as per a January 2023 analysis of National Statistics Office 2018 report on disability in India, there are around 561,744 children under the age of 14 with intellectual disability in India. This excludes autism. And again, for me, inclusion basically talks about including these people also in the mainstream education. So this was just about age under the age of 14, but this I'm speaking for those people who are in undergraduates, those people who are in postgraduate, wherever it is as well. So that is what, as for me, inclusion basically means ever. So I think I'll stop here and listen to other panelists as well to understand what inclusion is to them as well. And then probably as we move forward, because I was thinking about this and I have some solutions probably, or some discussions, which I think we should all together raise. And though we have a lot of policies, I think we should be having the execution mindset in our mind. And if some change can be brought about in this world by this discussion, I think I'll be the happiest person on the earth today.
I completely feel you, Dr. Rupashri, Dr. Ranjana, because having a separate schools for them, having a separate, a construct for them doesn't actually work. That is not what actually inclusion means. That itself says they are excluded from their society, right?
Right.
So it is about creating a common system wherein they all are a part of, all are equal part of, right? So I completely feel you, Dr. Ranjana there. Dr. Padmaja, can we hear it from you?
Yeah, thank you, Avatar. Thank you, Shabana. I must truly appreciate the efforts put forward by Avatar. And as Dr. Ranjana rightly pointed out, uh, inclusion and more so diversity and inclusion is becoming such an integral part of our day-to-day conversations. I'm sure all my panelists will completely agree on that. And we as academicians and creating the future leaders of the country, it becomes so imperative and so important for us to discuss on such an important topic, which for long was existing, but now in the recent years has really come to the limelight, and we are all taking it very, very seriously. So I must applaud and congratulate the efforts taken by Dr. Soundarya and Avatar per se to, in fact, celebrate a complete month about diversity Mahotsav. Now, coming to the point about what does inclusion in education mean? So, I represent the higher academic institutions. I've been in teaching the postgraduate MBA students for the last 16, 17 years. And prior to that, I've worked in corporate for about 10, 12 years. So, if you were to ask me what does inclusion in education mean, it actually, comes down to understanding how do we break down the barriers to learning, because the teaching learning process is so important for us. Ultimately, how are we assessing the learner's performance? It is not just the classroom pedagogies. Are they able to imbibe what we are teaching in the class? So, are we able to break down those barriers? Are we being inclusive in our approach in the classroom through assignments, through internal assessments? Are we giving same assessments to everyone? To me, that is important. So if there is a slow learner or somebody who's not been able to attend classes for various reasons, students have different reasons, and for any but a personal reason, if he is not able to catch up with that particular class which he has missed out, are we being inclusive enough to call him, take separate sessions, do remedial classes? That is inclusion to me, if you were to ask me as a from an academician's point of view. However, theoretically we say that breaking down the barriers and creating a holistic development without any without considering their background, and trying to promote and encouraging every student from different backgrounds and promoting participatory learning. But then if you were to ask me in true sense, inclusion in the classroom approach, treating every student equally in the classroom, giving them an equal opportunity to participate in all classroom activities and not just have your own set of students. By and large, we get carried away by our unconscious bias, and I'm sure Avatar has done so many sessions on unconscious bias. So are we allowing that to dominate in our mind and giving chances to a few, or is everyone given an equal chance to participate? That is one. I will say, if you were to ask me, Shabana and my panelists, I would say being inclusive in your approach, in your internal assessments and the teaching pedagogies also, because different students have different aspects of learning. Well, having said that, I will say, if you strengthen your teaching processes, your teaching pedagogies and your methodologies, by and large, even the slow learners try to, catch up and cope with the difficulties. And if you ensure that there is a strong mentoring process, if every faculty is ensured with a strong sense of mentoring and taking forward the slow learners, then for sure we are ensuring in lifelong learning. And those are the values which we need to inculcate while we are talking of being inclusive. We can talk more about how we can develop inclusive campuses and build inclusive campuses. So for me, the learning, developing lifelong learning and helping students to cope with everyone, that is being inclusive. And for me, the assessments and the performance of every student is very important. Therefore, their feedback also becomes important to us, and every feedback is important, because we are in the teaching, we are in we are in the services sector. So for us, the feedback of students is very important. Keeping that in mind, we need to holistically understand how inclusion impacts all the stakeholders, the students, the teachers, as well as the parents also.
Great point there, Padmaja. This actually reminds me of data which says people with disabilities, for instance, when you compare the enrollment ratio, we're all talking about the enrollment ratio, but then as you said, we need to focus on their developmental aspects, which
Yeah,
is the longer problem. And the number of students who are actually finishing the school is only less than 4%.
sure.
right? So I completely understand, like this has to be taken in the long run. It just doesn't stop with how many students enrolled, right? So it's a longer run, like what are the changes that you're actually going to you know expose them to, right? So thank you, Dr. Padmaja. Rupashri, can we have it from you?
Okay, first of all, let me also join Dr. Padmaja and Dr. Ranjana in congratulating Avatar and your group for taking up such a nice initiative. And I think I'm really feeling proud to be a part of this panel as well as this Diversity Mahotsav. Okay, coming back to the question of yours, if you ask me, inclusion per se is a kind of supporting environment where we all get equitable treatment and fair treatment. But when I think about inclusive education, because I'm an educationist and I'm into a higher educational institution, to me, it is a practice of ensuring that all students, regardless of their abilities, their backgrounds, their differences, are provided with equitable opportunities. And they should be given the opportunity to participate not only in educational activities, also in co-curricular and extracurricular activities, and also benefit from the same and get similar experiences that everybody experiences. And to me, the core philosophy, so-called philosophy of inclusive education, is based on the belief that every student has the right to learn and grow in a supportive and diverse environment. So it is not only a system which is the representation of diverse students. Like in IIT, we get almost 8,000 plus students who are from different backgrounds, different geographies and all that. But how do we make them feel that, they are treated equally here and they are included in all aspects of education? That is the most important thing of inclusive education. I'm really proud, although IIT has been a diverse culture, diverse environment for long. Inclusion and equity and diversity, all these terminologies and the policies with regard to that actually has become a norm in last 2 to 3 years. Yeah. And we are taking really conscious efforts. It is all intentional, conscious efforts towards inclusion, towards equity, towards diversity. And I'm really proud that I'm also a part of that effort of IIT Madras. So I will talk more about the initiatives that we have, but at present, I think we are still at a very nascent stage. We are taking baby steps year after year to become more inclusive. And in last 2 years, I think a lot of initiatives have been taken in IIT to make it more inclusive for students of different backgrounds.
Great, Rupashri. Actually, yes. I mean, a lot of institutions these days, a few of the IITs and IIMs, even they have their exclusive DEI offices at their institute, which actually proves a fact that intention is real. Yeah. So great work there. So, moving forward, you're all educators, right? And there are a lot of bias that exist with respect to situational bias, with respect to stereotyping. Even parents, they themselves have a bias, which actually they pass on to their children. So this is something that happens right from the days when they are a kid, right from primary education. So this does not actually, pop up, or can we do something after they reach the college? No, right? So this is something that should perhaps be done from the primary level onwards. It's a complete perspective change that is required. And do you really think, and it requires skin deep conversations with parents, with children, making them realize, very unfortunate, but then this is the reality that we are living in, right? So it requires a lot of curriculum reformations, a lot other things said. But then as educators, you are at the forefront, right? You're running it on a day-to-day basis. You're facing them. You are being responsible enough to actually bring in that change or intentional inclusions in them. So what do you think are the challenges that you actually face when you are taking up such initiatives in order to bring in the changes. Can we take it from Dr. Padmaja?
Okay. Yeah. So you want me to touch upon the challenges,
Practical challenges
the
that you face.
difficulties?
Yes, yes.
See, when I talk about inclusion in my leadership sessions, I teach leadership for the fourth semester students, which is the second year. So they are, we presume that they're a little bit more mature than the first year students. When I talk about inclusion, I give them one example of, I show them one video about that the snail and the caterpillar, wherein they have to move to the other side of the fence where there's a party going on. So the caterpillar immediately sneaks below that fence, but the snail is not able to go because of its shell. So so the caterpillar tries to mock the snail, and the caterpillar says, "Oh, come on, why are you taking so much of time?" But the snail says, "Oh, please try to understand. I wish you would, feel the way I have this hunch on my back." So while the caterpillar was trying to mock the snail was trying to, put forward its view. And then both of them decide, hey, why not, let's look out for another option. So they move to the other side of the fence, and then they, instead of going below the fence, they look out for an opportunity, from the other side, and then step into the party, and then both of them enjoy, and they have fun at the party. So the point which I'm trying to drive down here now, friends, is that, by and large, we try to impose our own views, and therefore that becomes a very big a barricade or a challenge in understanding the other person. So I'm not going to touch upon about empathy and all, because all of us do that a lot with our students. We talk about empathy, but when we talk through these kind of examples to our students, that's when we also realize that why isn't that student is not able to learn and understand. So it's our own mindset. We have not kept our mindset open for long. Only now consciously we've decided that every student is the same, because for long marks were predominant for age long, for many years, right? Marks were deciding the intelligence of a person, but today it's not marks, it's about skills. It's about how you're able to connect in the industry and grow based on the upskilling and reskilling. It's not about your marks. While marks are important, but that's not the only criteria to judge the intelligence of a student or of an individual. So the challenges is we need to keep an open mindset, Shabana and Dr. Rupashri and Dr. Ranjana, when we are talking to our students, when we are talking to our parents. I think those movies such as Tare Zameen Par and all have really opened our eyes to understand how slow learners could also contribute in their own way towards the learning process. That is one. And the second thing is, one big challenge in providing an inclusive ambience or inclusive campus is that many a times we feel that campus is, it's not we, it's overall. There are some sections of the society who may feel that certain campuses are not safe for uh, for anyone. For it could be a girl, it could be a boy. So sometimes when students want to stay back in a lab, so I work in an MBA institute, but think about all those postgraduate institutions which have chemistry labs. They have to stay back in the labs. And for any reason, if there's nobody in the campus and somebody has to stay back and finish their experiment, so is there a safe campus being provided? Number one. Number two, there should be an opportunity to provide flexibility in the choice of their subjects. By and large, if there's no taker for a particular specialization, we'll say that, by and large, the institute may say that don't take the specialization, but there might be just one or two students who may be interested in that. Say, for example, aviation management, sports management. So providing flexibility or not being flexible could be a challenge. Not having an open mindset could be a challenge. Third is how to. So these are 2 points which come immediately to my mind about the challenges. I hope I've covered them. One is not being very flexible in your, in your curriculum. So institutions are now actually taking a conscious effort, because even UGC has laid down guidelines. NEP, we have the new education policy which says the student has the opportunity to take any subject, and then drop in or come back again. So by providing more opportunity, more flexibility in your subjects, we can be more inclusive and break down that challenge. And second is break down your own, have an open mindset when you're talking to students, when you're trying to understand their problems.
Great, great. Actually, when we talk about people, as Dr. Padmaja mentioned, from diverse backgrounds, like essentially that is a practical problem that we are facing, right? When it comes to people with disabilities, what are the infrastructure, arrangements that we have at the institutions? When we talk about, gender neutral restrooms, there are a lot of such practical real problems that actually exist. So when we talk about non-conscious bias was one another thing Dr. Padmaja mentioned. Essentially, yeah, we provide non-conscious bias trainings for that, right? These are all the practical things that are actually exist as a part of institution, right? So while implementing it, even from the student side, there are a lot of resistance. There might be. I don't want to judge into it, but then there might be resistance that might arise out of them. Can we hear it from Dr. Rupashri about it?
Okay, it's a very important question. In fact, I feel there are so many challenges I can see, at least in last 1 year, since I have taken up this role, advisor, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I thought in 1 year I'll do so many things, right? So, but it's not easy, right? In an educational institution, that to government institution, where we are having a lot of regulations and rules, you can't just simply go and start something very new, very unique. Okay, so you still need a lot of protocols to be followed, even to arrange a talk, which can be controversial. And you have to think twice. You have to take the permission from your higher authorities. So, anyways, let me not talk about the challenges of the DEI advisor, but to answer to your question, inclusive education and what are the challenges to it, I can think of 3 or 4 points. One is awareness. Even though, right now I'm the advisor to DEI, I don't think I know everything in and out about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I have been doing research in this area. I have been talking about diversity and inclusion in all forums. Still, I don't consider myself to be an expert or competent enough to, say everything or know everything about DEI. So just imagine there are 8,000 plus students, 2,000 plus staff, 600 plus faculty. I'm sure not everybody is even knowing what is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So the awareness is the first challenge. How do we make everybody, learn about this? For example, today you are streaming this particular session in YouTube Live. How many people have actually enrolled? How many people are actually watching us and listening to us? The moment we create that kind of atmosphere where such kind of initiatives are given, importance, and people actually come so more to, attend and understand and learn, I think we will achieve half of the goals that we have set for ourselves. So awareness. Second is changing the mindset of people. Since we have spoken about stereotypes, prejudices, and all, it is so difficult for me, being a mother, to tell my mother-in-law that pink is still okay for my husband or for my son to wear. Pink color shirt is okay for a boy to, prefer or like. It's so difficult to change that mindset. Pink is still a pink, and it is a woman's color or a girl's color. Or when my son wanted to play with utensils when he was small enough, I was okay to buy a utensil set because I have only one son. I don't have a daughter. I thought let him, be interested in everything. He was interested in cars, trucks. Also, he was interested in utensils and, making tea and making vegetables and all. But it was still not accepted in my family. Why are you bringing such things? He's a boy, right? I think this is what is the mindset even in an educational institution like ours. Many people think it is the people have come here to study. They all have got JE ranks, and they are coming through competitive exams. Let them learn, let them learn, let them learn, and get real crores of rupees ka placement and go and do whatever they want to do for the life, right? But we forget that they have a life outside of classrooms. So do we provide that kind of environment? Do we provide that kind of support to make people live their life as they want? Apart from their, of course, learning is one goal that they want to pursue. So changing the mindset of people, be it administration, be it faculty, be it staff or students, is the most, I think, important challenge that I would like to mention about. Yeah. Third thing is inadequate resources. Whatever said and done, being in in a government institution, as I said, resources can be utilized under certain headings. So now, if I want to have a lot of training programs in and around diversity and inclusion, am I allowed to do that? Do we have enough budget to do that? If I want to have all accessible assistive technologies for my students with disabilities, do I have enough resources to have such kind of equipments, classrooms, aids? That is the most important thing again. So having inadequate resources will be another challenge. The fourth one is, I think, individualized support. As individuals, we know even in family, we are 5 people, 5 of us are different in terms of our attitudes, our interest. It's so difficult to make everybody happy with the food that we make every day, right? So same thing here, like when you have 10,000 plus students, how do we take care of everybody's interest? How do we take care of everybody's what they expect from the institution? That is where the biggest challenge lies. And I think that is where we are going to face problem when we talk about we want to make this atmosphere more inclusive. That's from my side.
Great point, Rupashri. I would want to come back to you, but then let's hear
Sure.
it from Dr. Ranjana. So,
Okay, so I have been listening to all these challenges, and I think again, thanks to Avatar for conducting these kind of programs and things like that. It's one form of creating awareness, etc. But again, as Dr. Rupashri said, we don't know how many people are listening to it, or probably it is like, oh, again, another story about equality, another story about diversity. There are people from different generations, but one of the things which I have noticed very recently is that we talk about different generations. And again, I also teach the Gen Zs here, and I have seen that the Gen Zs are very, 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 inclusivity is a very paramount thing for them. And they want that sense of belongingness. They want, they want to be accepted. They want to create a forum for everyone where everyone is accepted. That's something. Now, I have a teenage boy and a teenage girl as well. And one of the things which I have noticed very recently from them is like, we happen to go for a family function. And, when we go for a family function, the first thing that our elders or our, parents or probably the grandparents will be like, oh, you have grown fat, you have grown thin. These are the typical kind of comments that come from them. And then I remember my teenage boy and a girl was telling them, see, you shouldn't be body shaming my mother. So I was kind of, taken aback thinking that, these are points which probably have got into their mind during their school days. So I think to an extent, some of the changes are already being made, which probably in my school days did not happen. And probably I, as again, going back to what Rupashri ma'am told, I'm also not an expert in this. I'm also still learning. And I know that my generation, whom I'm teaching right now, the Gen Zs, they are all going to be, dealing with corporate clients, corporate peers, etc. in probably another 6 months. My seniors will be, dealing with the corporate folks in another 6 months. So one of the things which I tell them is like, one of the things that you have to keep in mind is like, it's not about, see, DEI is not a branding element as such. DEI or whatever it is, like inclusion, has to be like taking care of everyone and making sure that everyone is included in that. So, and I make it a point to make sure that, again, quoting what Dr. Padmaja had mentioned earlier with respect to learning, teaching, learning kind of things, wherein I say that, okay, if you are unable to submit an assignment in a particular form, please submit in a form which you think is, feasible to you, which you think is applicable or can be possible for you. Now, the problem is like, thanks to my institution where I'm working, they have given me the freedom to adopt to that, to kind of do whatever I like, because they have a trust in me and they know that, I'm not going to play around with or maybe have some bias towards different set of students or anything. I'm going to treat everyone equally. So they have that trust in me. But then the problem is, be it a government institution or be it a private institution, how many teachers have the training to consider things like this?
Yeah.
So I strongly feel that, lack of teacher training is something which is a very big challenge. So the problem is like, we all are teachers, and fortunately, one of the things that we should understand is like, probably we all have our own, disabilities, maybe not a physical disability. Some other disabilities will be there. We also have our own problems as such. So we don't know what exactly the other person is feeling. See, empathy, etc., are all very fancy words, I would say. But then, do we actually have the training to, probably judge these people? That is one of the things which I feel. Because if I do certain things, how do I tell my team as to this is how this has to be evaluated? So that is one of the things. So one of the things which I have noticed is, again, Dr. Shabana had brought in the percentage of people who have been, passing out of the school. And even if there is something like a 3% reservation for teachers in educational institutions for persons with disabilities, if I remember correct, I think it's something like 3% reservation. But I don't think even 0.5% of the seats are filled. So I would probably say that we do have a lack of people with who don't understand, I'm not just telling that inclusion is only about persons with disabilities, but I think, people have to understand that better. That is one of the major challenges. Teachers have to be trained. Like what you give for Montessori training, like what we give for B.Ed, everything, this has to be something which has to be trained. And it has to be made mandatory, just like UGC, NET, SET, doctorate, whatever it is. That is one of the things. Another one is like, again, I think that my fellow panelists also had mentioned, it's about the attitudinal barriers, which is always there. Culture-wise, things happen at home. Lack of community and lack of involvement from the parents. That is again another problem which we face, because whatever said and done, finally, when you move out to the society, is the society accepting that, again, that is also one of the things. So then one of the things probably we should teach our kids is like, be strong like anything, like, have the willpower, like whatever said, whatever come, ignore it. I am the best. That's something which probably we should give that willpower, which I think recently what we see is in many of the, in today's world, maybe, in India especially, you have a lot of nuclear families, and then the kids are becoming very, very, very feeble. And so they don't have that willpower and things like that. So that is another thing which I feel that, they don't have that willpower sometimes. That is one of the things. And again, inflexible curriculum. Especially I would again understand that, university systems, they have a curriculum which is fixed, you cannot change, etc. So that's again, I'm always thankful to my institution where we have a PGDM program. So, we can change and tweak and, fine tune it in our own ways is one of the things. So
all autonomous institutions have that flexibility.
Correct. So that is again another thing which I have faced, I think is another challenge. And I think per se, this is what it is. I think among the three of us, we have covered almost all the challenges. Is what
I have
think.
one important pertinent point, Shabana, if you allow me, can I
Please
just say,
do.
it is not just about we thinking about students being inclusive. Let us also talk about we as important stakeholders of academic institutions. this is applicable in all institutions. So when there is a recruitment taking place, are we being inclusive when we look at Madam Rupeshri? You'll have to pardon me because I'm just taking the name of IIT. So when we see a candidate from IIT, IIM background, immediately there's a bias framed in our mind saying that, oh, he or she maybe at a higher should be placed at a higher pedestal. Pardon me for saying that, Rupeshri ma'am, but it's there in our mindset, isn't it? So it's not just from the student's point of view, but also inclusion when you're recruiting academicians and teaching and non-teaching both. Don't just go by the institution that they've studied. No doubt the IITs and the IIMs are institutions of excellence, but don't discredit the background and academic background of a tier 2, tier 3 B school, tier 2, tier 3 school or a college, or a city. Let us not judge a student based on the city and the background that he or she comes from. There is this thing in our mind, oh, he or she is not good in communication because she belongs to a rural background or a rural setup. Communication to me is not just talking flawless English. He can sell excellent insurance policies and generate good premium for the organization by talking in Bengali, Malayalam, Telugu, but he's bringing business to the table. So this is one big challenge. I forgot to say that. It was there in my mind, but I forgot to cover that. So this is this thing of a student coming from a rural background and he or she not able to participate. Now he has various reasons. He's not able to shed his inhibitions despite the encouragement and support being provided. So there we'll have to be a little bit more flexible in understanding that, his communication is not just about talking English or, participating in the class. He may be good in many other. He may be good in networking, in selling, in building up contacts, or, bringing up sponsorship for your college event. So those are where his strengths lie. So let the academic background or the institution from where a person has studied not get impacted during the recruitment process. I wanted to bring that because we have this bias in our mind.
That's a whole point altogether, actually. Having said that, people from diverse backgrounds, not only just education, people coming from various strata of society,
Yeah.
people coming from various sexual orientations, people who have just come back from their maternity, everybody are facing this whole lot of issue. And we run this awesome group of ours, wherein we try to help the employers find the right candidate who belong to a different diverse backgrounds that they come from, especially women after maternity. They still face that problem, right? So what I understand from here is, it is all skin deep. It is just not, we address the iceberg, tip of the iceberg. There are more intense things to it, right? So especially when Dr. Ranjana and Rupeshri were mentioning about the present generation being so open. That is one very good attribute that they have. They own it. Whatever they are, they own it very, very proud, and they try, and they have that fighting ability in them to claim their right whatsoever. Right. So, but then, still, that's a very good change that has been brought. It's also to do with the mindset change, right? A generation altogether is being shaped up in a very positive manner. But then, having said this, do you really feel we need to bridge, the gap between what exists in the primary education and the higher education? Because, from where they come from, that is exactly where their the minds are shaped, the shaping the little minds, as they call it. So it all starts from there, right? So do you really think there need to be a bridge between the primary education and the higher education?
Okay, so shall I?
Please.
Okay, because I would like to take the cue from what Dr. Padmaja said with respect to, all of us have got, sometimes this thing about, okay, you go for an IIT or an IIM, then you are brand A, okay? And so again, this is not something which I think from our birth, from our childhood, from the day when we completed our 10th, we have been told by our parents, if you're going for a science stream, get in some, all India Medical Institute or something like that. If you're going for, the math stream, IITs or something like that, okay, PG, do it in IIMs, and then your future is secure. So right from the beginning, and this passes on to our younger generation as well. So the problem, what I feel is like, again, as we said in the beginning, when in the start of the discussion itself, is that it's not about getting A pluses everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not about, like, in the school education, I think whatever said and done, we almost every state in India has this feeling is about, it's always first rank, 90 plus, 95 plus, etc. See, I studied in an ICSE school, and I still remember those days getting an 86% mark in ICSE. I was mocked at by my fellow, CBSE friends, as well as my state board, telling them only 86. And
maybe if you didn't take science, they thought you were an average student.
Correct.
Commerce was for all the average and below average, and science is only for the toppers. That was the feeling which existed when we studied.
Yeah. So that is where I come from. Like, from my school education, that is what has been told. Then I went on, completed my 12. Then again, I did my ISC. So, after some time, I started thinking like, so what happens is, like, since we were talking about bridging the gap, if you look into those days when I completed my 10th and 12th, in today's ICSE syllabus, the marks are flowing, free flowing, like what happened earlier and now. So I think the pedagogy and everything also has been changed, and everything has been given probably, or the governments, the respective state governments are looking at the pass percentage as a performance appraisal. Okay, so they tend to see it like, probably they tend to see the percentage of people who are past their 10th standard being 90% with A plus means, oh, the education ministry is superb, 90%. But then what they don't understand is, like, are they teaching these students the right things? And now these kids move on to the undergraduation and then move on to the post-graduation with the same mentality what they have learned in school, and they find it very difficult to adjust and adapt to everything. So that is where what happens is that teaching learning mechanism may not be the same, may be different, etc. And they find it very difficult with respect to probably adjusting with everyone, and, probably coping up with the various educational mechanisms there. So it has to start from school. It has to start from school wherein, but then today, if you look into it, there are a lot of schools which have come up with pedagogies which very clearly say that it is not just marks alone. You have to excel in arts, you have to excel in different things. Now, a person is good in singing means, yeah, you go for a course in singing and you get a credits to that. And I know a school in Coimbatore with a friend of mine who is running, wherein, there I heard that till 7th standard people are sitting on the floor and studying. Okay, so maybe it might be like, we are like, what is happening? But still, everyone is treated equally. They are like, there are different reasons why they are doing that. So, I think the school education as such, the traditional school education as such, which we all were accustomed to, has to be changed so that they get ready for the undergraduation and they get ready for their post-graduation. See, all of a sudden putting everything together on their undergraduation or on their PG will make it very difficult. And they will have a huge resistance to change from whatever they have been taught from their childhood. And then what happens is you have situations of suicides, you have situations of depressions, all those things will come in. And then you speak about inclusion and things like that, they will not understand it at all. But I think thanks to some of the schools who are coming across, coming forward with respect to these kind of very, very revolutionary kind of changes, I think, yeah, they have started bridging the gap altogether. So this is one small thought which I had when you were asking this. So that's why I thought I'll go first and probably comment on
Great.
this.
Actually, modern education, I feel, has paved a way towards, having an inclusive educational setup wherein they're all treated in one common classroom. And there are various researchers also that says, these included students, they perform and they excel well. Even their attendance rate are higher when compared to the regular students, right? So, yes, Rupashri, can we have your thoughts?
Okay, if you are asking, maybe I can talk about some of the strategies IIT Madras has taken up of late, how we have breached this, not so good, or maybe a different a group of students versus IIT students, if I can tell again with a lot of pride, I can say IIT Madras has taken a lot of efforts to make education accessible to all. We have a philosophy called education for all, right? If you all have ever browsed for our online data sciences and online BSc degree courses, which is accessible to each and everybody in the world. And we have, like last year, we graduated so many students who took up online BSc courses, online data science courses. We have NPTEL courses. We have like now so many startups are working towards, there is something called Pravartak. They are working towards NPTEL. They're working towards making education accessible to everybody. So there is no divide at all. We are making it more inclusive. And the kind of platforms, the kind of technologies IIT faculty, students, and startups are using, I think there will be, there is no time that, everybody will be a product of institutions like IIT, or even for that matter, every educational system will have that kind of platform where they can also, go and reach out to the mass. I think we are in a very good generation. We are in a very good stage of educational system, and there is a lot of opportunity where we can make it, truly inclusive to everybody. I think that is where I would like to stop my, insights. But if you
Okay,
have any specific questions, please ask.
Yeah, I would like to add on to what Rupashri ma'am said, is that I think COVID was a catalyst for that as well, becoming more inclusive. Because, I remember doing some courses from Harvard, which I would have never thought I can go and do it in Harvard. So probably in IIT Madras, yes, I have gone through many of your platforms. So probably that is also again, as again Padmaja ma'am had also mentioned that in the beginning, where it is accessible to everyone. So that is probably one of the solutions and strategies. So, if you take school from the primary education, everyone is, they can access different kind of courses from across the world. So that is also one form of inclusion where, it is making a big change.
Those are some great intentional inclusive initiatives that are being staged by various educational institutions, and I'm sure this is going to lead to a more empowered stature in a very short while than expected. So in press of time, I just want uh, uh, the final question on a personal level. Okay, being educators, having to face children on a day-to-day basis, looking at them and feeling so very proud once they pass out, and even after they pass out, when they come to you to meet you, to greet you, so it feels so good. It's a very very this field of teaching is very close to my heart.
Yes.
So so what does inclusiveness have an impact on you? What impact does it have on you,
So
Dr.
can I?
Patna?
Who's taking
Yep.
that? Okay, you want me to answer? One is, as I was hearing your question, I think the emotional connect with the students and that sense of belongingness, and as you rightly said, when they come back and meet us during the alumni meets, is the immediate connect, the sense of belongingness. Ma'am, you taught me, and they forget everything, whatever happened, the not so good things, but they remember the brilliant conversations that we've had. So that means inclusion, irrespective of wherever they're working. If they remember us and they wish us on our birthday, I'm not talking of the Facebook posts and the likes, but if they call me, and I don't even get impressed by the WhatsApp messages. If they call me and they say, ma'am, I called to wish you, that creates the sense of belongingness, and I truly feel, empowered by those kind of thoughts and messages which come to me. That is one. Second is genuinely creating an ambience of belongingness. It's a genuine effort and a conscious effort, both from the institution's point of view, faculty's point of view, and the students. So all three stakeholders coming together, that could chalk out a clear, actionable plan to understand how everyone could uh, could uh, could relate and feel that sense of belongingness towards the institution. So creating a sense of belongingness, and then, right from the time of they step into the institute, the emotional development, the social development, which is, they have a 15-day, 20-day orientation program. So AICT has made it mandatory to have a 3 weeks, 21 days orientation program. So as a part of the orientation program, we are already sensitizing them in our institute. We do a complete immersion program. We have the social skills. So they are taken to some developmental activities. We had that recently, that Harlithan do the, seed ball activity, where students were encouraged to sow seeds and plants. So right from the beginning, if that immersion, the sense of belongingness is developed from the time of orientation, classroom sessions, our personal discussions, having a strong mentoring system, and not judging them by their marks and inability to speak, not judging them. That becomes imperative for us to take it forward as one of the way forward activities, and help them to understand that how these stigmas can be reduced, because by and large we are carried away by the stigma. So we need to make a conscious effort to eliminate these stigmas and bridge the gap and ensure that we're all one and the same. I think that needs a lot of effort. We think, we talk about it, but there's still a huge, long way to go to bridge and reduce that stigma. Only then the emotional connect will happen. You truly need to understand that the student belongs to you and you belong to, because you've mothered them, you've nurtured them right from the time they enter your institution. That's where the sense of belongingness should be developed, and that culture should continue, and the legacy will continue.
Thank you, Dr. Padmaja. Rupashri, can we have it from you?
Yeah, okay. So, Dr. Shravana, this is a very a question which is very close to my heart. If you ask me, I think I'll keep on going. So, at a personal level, I think I can only think of some points right now which I would like to emphasize on. One is I have become more conscious of the unconscious biases, right? So, that is first. Second, I think I have got the exposure to diverse learning, you can say environment, like IIT Madras, which fosters a kind of sense of acceptance and understanding of differences. I think that is what has happened to me. I have become more accepting and understanding, empathetic towards students, towards peers, and who have unique strengths and perspectives. Okay, so that is the second most important impact I think inclusive education has given to me. Then the third one is I think I have got opportunity to interact with wide range of people, who have helped me to develop my social skills, my helping empathy skills and all that. Then the fourth one, what I can remember is I think I have understood that language makes a lot of difference. Use of appropriate language, use of appropriate communication strategies is very, very important. And I think I have become more conscious of it. And I'm using those kind of communication when I'm talking to diverse set of people. For example, my own research scholars who is in the fag end of her pregnancy. The way I should treat her, the way I should talk to her is far more different than a student who is like, very young and very bubbly, chubbly, and that kind of person, right? So I think this kind of communication skill also I have developed. And I think it has made me a better person than I was earlier.
Great, Rupashri. Dr. Ranjana?
Okay, being in a college where I have students from 22 states of India, I think for me, the only thing which I always say is like, my door is always open, and anytime, 24/7, only thing which I have told in my classes or any students, even if I don't teach them, is like, either I should be asleep or I am dead. Only these two situations is when you don't get a reply. So anytime you can text me regarding anything. So I have had students walking in whom I have not even taught, no gender difference as such, and my room has been a sounding board for many things. So I think I have been a little bit successful in that, but learning, thanks to the generation whom I am teaching, because every year you get a new batch, you get a lot of new ideas, new things, I do a lot of reverse learning, or you would call it like a reverse mentoring. And having two teenage kids, it is again interesting. You learn a lot of things from them as well. So that is one thing. And probably to underline it, I would say walk the talk. Whatever you are telling, please do it as an example by yourself. And I think students will love you for that. Whatever you say, whatever strict you are, I think they understand this lady doesn't mean anything else. Walk the talk is what I have learned. That's what I
Can't
have.
any, I agree, Dr. Ranjana there, with beautiful educators like you, intentionally creating inclusiveness and positive changes in the life of, people. Not only their life is getting changed, I think even our lives are getting changed, in the process. And we all are thriving to become better at it every day, which is very great. And with us, I think we can just go on about this topic, but in press of time, I think we can conclude the panel here. With such powerful educators in place and with policies being streamlined, I hope we are in the run. We are running a little faster than we actually expected it to be. And I hope we reach that stage wherein we already are proud, but then we call ourselves to be even proud at what we have achieved as a world of equal opportunities. Thank you, panelists. You were wonderful today. Thank you so much. It was a great discussion.
Thank
JJ,
you.
Thank
over
you
to
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much for giving us a chance to be a part
Exactly.
of this wonderful discussion. Truly, as somebody rightly said, we have started introspecting about our own qualities of being a good listener, understanding empathy. We have developed these, or trying to develop, not developed, trying to develop and nurture our own interpersonal skills by talking more about the D and I. Thank you so much, Avatar. Thank you, Ranjana.
Thank you.
And
Thank
you,
you. Highly
Rupesh.
appreciate it. Thank you. JJ?
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Shabana. Thank you, Dr. Ranjana, Rupeshri, and Dr. Padmaja for this enriching and thought-provoking discussion. Thank you all, and our deepest gratitude to each and every one of you for joining us on this insightful journey today. And let us embark on a collective journey towards fostering intentional inclusion within our educational institutions. The insights shared today illuminate the path ahead, and it is now our responsibility to transform dialogue into action. Together, let our intentional efforts redefine the landscape of education, ensuring that every student feels valued, heard, and empowered. So, Diversity Mahotsav is special because of all of you. I would once again like to thank our partners, powered by Partner, Kellogg Brown and Root Engineering, and Construction India Private Limited, and supporting partners Genesis and EPAM, and our outreach partner MCCI, Madras Chamber of Commerce and Industries. Our social media hashtags are hashtag Diversity Mahotsav, hashtag Celebrating Diversity. Do post your experience at Diversity Mahotsav on your SM handles with the hashtags. On behalf of Team Avatar, I thank each one of you and welcome you to the next 2 days of Diversity Mahotsav. Please remember, Diversity Mahotsav is between December 1 to 22nd, only on weekdays between 4 to 5 p.m. As we draw close to the day, I'm going to request you to take a couple of minutes and provide your feedback on today's session. I request my colleague to bring up the poll. So, how would you rate today's session on the scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the minimum and 5 being the maximum? How would you rate our speakers session on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the minimum and 5 being the maximum? Is there anything else you would wish to cover in the coming sessions? Would you like to suggest a topic that you wish to hear from us during Diversity Mahotsav? If yes, please give your suggestions in the next box. Sorry, in the text box. What is your takeaway from today's session? I would like to give a couple of minutes to give you all the opportunity to participate in the poll. Okay. Also, I would like to reiterate that we have another exciting session for tomorrow, December 21st, 2023, Diversithon, paper presentation from different educational institutes. So please do join us tomorrow. Please visit www.myavatar.com to explore various opportunities and avatar and activities that celebrate diversity. If you have not registered at myavatar.com yet, do log on to myavatar.com and register now. Browse through to find jobs that might suit your skill sets, read articles of your interest, upskill yourself through various webinars conducted exclusively for you. And signing off today is Jayashree Jayaraman. Take care, stay safe, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Can
Thank
we
you.
sign off? Can we log off, Jayashree?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.